Hello and welcome. This is Candace with another video on the Possum Stamps YouTube channel, and today I have a sneak peek of the new release, which comes out tomorrow, as well as a card inspired by our monthly color palette challenge. So let's get started. So today I'm going to be using the beautiful Mandala stamp set that comes out in our anniversary release tomorrow. And I'm going to get my watercolor cardstock set up on my sticky mat and put that down in the center, which was really easy to line up with those lines. I'm going to use my anti-static powder pouch and stamp this down with some Versamark ink. I did stamp it a couple times because this is watercolor paper, so it has a little bit more texture, and I wanted to make sure to get the ink in all of those areas. And then to take it off of this mat, you want to fold the mat backwards instead of peeling the paper off so it doesn't work. I'm going to come in with some white heat embossing powder, and I'm just going to put that on over a coffee filter so I don't make a big mess that goes outside of my container. And once I'm done, I'm going to just clean the edges with my fingers to make sure there's no stray embossing powder and put that back in with my coffee filter. Then I'm going to heat set it with my heat gun, and I'm just making sure that under the light that everywhere has a little bit of a glare so there's no pieces that aren't quite melted yet. So once I'm happy with that, I'm going to pick out some colors of my Tombow dual brush pens. So I have the dual brush pen chart on the left and then the Artist Loft version on the right, which is just the Michaels brand. And I'm picking out some watercolor markers that are going to match our color challenge. This is a super easy watercolor technique, but I will admit it looks like a bit of a hot mess as you go through it, but you have to just trust the process and it ends up looking great in the end. So I'm coming in and I'm just scribbling down my watercolor pens, and I'm going from pink in the center out toward my purples and then my blue and green. And I did them in this order because I wanted to not put any colors beside each other that could look like mud if they mix together, and you'll see why in a second. So I know this looks a bit funny, but it does end up coming together in the end, I promise. So once I'm done putting down all of my color, and I'm not being super clean about this because I'm going to use my water sprayer and I'm just going to spray that quite liberally. But as you can see, I should have taped this down because the center kind of went upwards and it forced some of that purple into the green and made mud. So I would definitely suggest taping it down if you wanted to be a bit more careful, but I was still able to pick that up with a paper towel and it ended up looking fine in the end. This technique is very forgiving, and if there's spots that aren't quite blending the way you want, you can kind of come in with your finger, although if you let the water do the work itself, it definitely ends up looking quite good in the end. As well, if you leave this to dry, it does look a little bit more natural, but I don't have a ton of patience, so I did use my heat gun. You do want to be a bit careful if you are going to use your heat gun because you don't want to remelt or overheat that embossing powder. So I do put it a bit further away, and I tend to kind of move around a bit quicker so there's no prolonged heat on one area. Then I'm going to stick this down to a card base and move on to my sentiment. So one of my very commonly used banner dies, I made myself a little template, and I'm just gonna put that in. I'm gonna do this on a gray piece of cardstock, and I have that beautiful sentiment in there that says thanks so much. And I thought this was perfect for the center of the card. I always need thank you cards, so I decided to make one today. I am going to heat emboss that again with some white embossing powder, and I'm just using my tweezers to hold this easier while I am doing my heat embossing. And then once that is done, I am going to stack a few of the extra banners behind that just to give it some lift off of the cardstock. And then I'm going to glue that down to the center of my card using my T-roller to make sure I get it nice and straight and centered. Once that's done, I am going to add some embellishments using the Spring Bling Sequin Mix, which has quickly become one of my favorites. And that is going to be the final card. This card was actually inspired by our monthly color palette challenge. I definitely encourage you to check it out and enter. I will put the link below for all of the details about the challenge, but all you have to do is use a Possum Stamps product to make a card inspired by the challenge and share it over on Instagram with the challenge hashtag. So we definitely love to see your creations and what you create using this color palette. That is all for today's video. Don't forget to subscribe so you catch all of the design team's inspiration, and make sure to check out our anniversary release, which comes out tomorrow. And I will see you in another video. Bye!